So, welcome to another Mystic Brew of two mystics talking and trying to make sense or be interesting. It's late at night for me. Well, it's midnight. I don't know what time it is. What time is it where you are in New Zealand?
6:06
AM or PM?
p.m.
PM. Okay. And we had a little pre-chat, and we're all warmed up. And we have a good connection. There should be no sound problems, and so that makes us both feel very confident.
Very, very much so. There's been great learning in the frustration of the last two vids. In the last video, I noticed that I slowed myself right down to my normal speaking pattern to the point where it became normal for me to speak a bit slower. So that was actually there was some benefit out of that frustration. Also, I forgot to say to you, Marty, there's a few people on ATS above top secret. Earlier on in the day, I let them know that we've got the audio fixed and ready, we believe, we hope. And a couple of people were doing some great posts on the thread about the angst of late, about are things coming to fruition, are things moving forward. And as a lot of people pointed out, at the moment we've got a lot of, the shills are out in force on the threads everywhere. The naysayers, the never Trumpers, all the negatives are out there causing negativity. And the biggest one is the provocateurs, the ones you just walk away from. Mm-hmm. They're in full force. So there's a bit of that being talked about as well. Because every time on ATS, when they start a new thread on the White House queue, they all come in, and then after about 20 pages, they're gone. But they like to get in there and cause their energy to do as they wish. And but it's a micro macro thing. And I talked with one of the posters there, Casalet, and said, is it okay to talk about some of your ideas? And Cranky Old Man, he had some great words of wisdom there on it all as well. So I may just sip in every so often with something on that, if that's okay. They above top secret is one of the biggest conspiracy sites there is, and they had great problems with the Q material.
I know what it is.
Yeah, and the Q thread narrows into its 24th thread. Mm-hmm. It's the biggest ever on ATS, so it's become famous whether they liked it or not. And that's where people are moving, Q orientated and interested and wanting to know. That's where they're moving to. So they're getting a huge slice of the pie, once again, whether they like it or not. So I may just jump into that. I know you're Q orientated as well. Well, probably not as.
I used when there was the 8chan, I had a link to it. I haven't done the new link. So basically what I do is I depend on the X22 report, which comes out 6 days a week. And then the B report, because the A report is usually economic and the other one's global and whatever, and we'll have Trump's tweets and whatever Q said. So I listen to the X22 report to kind of keep fresh on Q, because the funny, I like another person's opinion, whether or not I agree with it is not important. I just like a little, I like when we as humans report intel, and then we give our take on it, because based on because especially like X22 report, I've been listening to the guy for a while. You kind of get an idea of where the person's coming from. Yes. So his opinion is you will get a filter, whatever that filter is. I mean, again, filters are filters, and this is not to make it positive, negative, or whatever. It's like my whole thing is to absorb the data. I'm an observer at one level, and then as a human being, I'm a participant. And this is that unique place we have as the human species to really understand what it is to have the divine nous within us.
Yes.
And whether or not we are consciously participating in creation or not.
Yeah.
And the only way to consciously participate in creation is to know the creator. And I could point in certain places that I think might orient one correctly. But the thing is, to me, it is Mother Earth.
Well, I think I told you earlier in the week that my father had a heart attack, so he ended up coming from his hometown up to Christchurch City and was in the hospital. And also that I've been going through a separation process, but through that separation process, I'm also getting back into myself and concentrating the energy more on myself. So my connection to above and below is getting stronger. And I was visiting Dad in hospital, 75, 20 years after he had a triple heart bypass. These things are happening. And when I left, I gave him a kiss on the forehead, up here. Now, if I give my son a kiss goodnight or whatever, it's always here, you know. And I wondered at the time, I didn't think about it, but I felt it and went, oh, that's interesting. Because I couldn't really hug him because he's got, wires coming out and etc. And then yesterday I went in, he's gone back home today, but yesterday I went in and it was just the two of us and we caught up for quite a while, had our best talk for 30, 40 years. It was beautiful. And at the end when I left, I gave him a kiss on the same place again. I wasn't thinking about it, I just did it. And on the way home I went, dear Spirit, what was that about? Because I knew there was something else happening. And I automatically got it. And that was your conduit is definitely getting stronger. And your father's father came through and was the one kissing him on the top of the head. Oh, whoa, mindfuck. That was beautiful.
This tapping into the ancestral line is huge for all of us. And the reason I say all of us is because there are obviously, different racial strains with their own brilliance and nobility. And there's and also the further we go back, we're going to find a lot of ancestral cooperation. And so to me, there's to kind of tap into our own phylogenetic memory. And to me, this is more important than like past lives. It is part of that, but it kind of doesn't have the compartmentalization of a past life when you tap into your phylogenetic memory. It's kind of like you're in a place, you're in a people, you're in a culture. You have a sense of what it was like to be there. You have that sense, that real emotional sensorial sense where it's not about you, the individual. Who were you? Fuck, it doesn't matter. I was part of this population. I was part of this experience. And I remember it.
I like for me, there's a fascination with your ancestral line and your past lifeline. You know what I mean? So your ancestral line might not be your past lifeline, or it might be both.
Yes, it's the past life is a little more jumpy because we've done a little jumping. It's interesting, and the other thing is also I like to live within. There really is no true time. So even though I have past lives, I don't have past deaths. Because this eliminates...
Okay. Explain that one. Okay. I also put out on ATS that I'd be looking at dimensional shackles being bent as we move, as we evolve. They don't get released; they get bent. that's how you dimensionally move as such. So I think you've segued right into that.
I did this many years ago when I first started experiencing past lives and realizing there was past life trauma. Traumas with each life. And also this whole thing of like that there really is no time in a where it has to be separate. In other words, a past life of mine can be active currently. It doesn't have to be at its terminus, where whatever that death looked like. So in other words, I kind of, whatever past life information I take in is kind of like in the core of it. You know, I don't, because who I was then isn't particularly important. I have a few things, I had a few outrageous personalities that have bled through, but nothing to claim. Outrageous locally. I mean, once again, in a local town, you can be quite outrageous, and if it doesn't make the history books, you're nothing. And which is how it was, because before, much of human tradition is oral tradition. And if you kill the people who kept the tradition dies.
Never dies.
But that's where, thank you, Vern, because this is where the phylogenetic memory, again, the ancestral memory, it is alive. Matter of fact, it is roar. It wants to be reintegrated, especially the wisdom aspect of it.
Okay, yeah, it's actually part of the veins of Gaia, Sophia, as you call. Yeah, that the water, the crystal.
Well, here's one of the things I would like to really clear up for myself, because you know I come from the John Lamb Lash Gnostic school, and Sophia is the word that is used because it is, but it's a Greek word and it's applicable for who she is, but to me it loses it because we're speaking English. Sophia means wisdom. Now, unfortunately, partially because of things like Socrates and Plato, wisdom seems kind of dry. Wisdom is our creator. We are created from wisdom. In other words, Gaia Sophia. Okay, Gaia is the earth. That's what wisdom turned herself into when she was ordained. I mean, I don't want to get too much into our creation story, but simply wisdom from the galactic center sent a part of itself into the Konoma, which is where, you know, the dead zones, or you know, where because the galactic center is where all the consciousness is in each galaxy. Okay, that's the beauty. When you look out there, you're seeing all these different galaxies. These are all very unique in a way because they exist in the same medium, and that medium that they float in is intelligent. Okay, the very medium we see the galaxies floating in is actually the mother of all the galaxies. It is the prime intelligence. So all these galaxies sit within an intelligent medium, and each having their own unique experiments, so to speak, with the wisdom of and the, you know, the consciousness of each galactic center. What's unique about our galaxy is that, according to all the shamans, again, because shamans can actually go out there and get major information, and especially if they share it together, they kind of correlate and clean it up, and that's what the Persians in the northern plateau that kind of birthed the modern Gnostic mythos that I'm trying to express here, that is not in the Nag Hammadi codices. The Nag Hammadi codices have Gnosticism in them, but to call them Gnostic is incorrect.
The intelligence side of it from what my brain's scratching back at the moment. So I'm getting what you're saying to some degree. I'm also moving into that intelligence is conveyed archetypally. So if you were to sit down and do a spreadsheet for that as a indigenous tribe 10,000 years ago, you would do it by archetypes, the intelligence of it. You would want to measure it. From where we are, we would want to measure it. What is this? Right? The intelligence is coming in.
Mm-hmm.
I always go from templates coming through the galactic core, coming into the solar systems.
Okay.
That's how I see it. So, but within those templates, it's always numbers. It's always the 0, 1. It's and then the numbers move, and we move from there. So, and I always get templates because that's how I learned, I suppose. The John Lash side of it, maybe the way you've learned. So for me, it's like the dream spell behind me. It's like, and even that moved as well. And now there's a 21 by 21 instead of a 13 by 20. Mm-hmm. So I was evolved to that template. Some of the young ones get into that, and that's the 1111s full on coming in. Way ahead of me, these young ones that move into that. I work with this one here, and it's archetypal, but the intelligence I get, it's through the body. So that's my body. The 13 main articulations of the body, with the 7th being the neck, but being the chakra line, and then the 20 being the 10 fingers and the 10 toes. The 20 archetypes, then the 13 articulations, but they're also the waves. Everything goes in waves. So the dream spell side of it. And moving into the 21s, you only have to. It's a different story. I'm still scratching my head with that one. But learning, people are always going to learn by archetypes. So that's when you say intelligence. But for me to understand that, I'm trying to scratch that scratch that's coming to me, like why if you've got the I think you called it the void or the no places that need the fertilization of intelligence. I can't remember the word you used.
I can't imagine I would have expressed it that way, because the void is actually where everything comes out of.
Okay. You might have said vacant or it's needing the something here. So I think it's just two, we've both come to the same intelligence stream from two different places.
For me, I think if I wanted to get away from a lot of verbiage, I would say where we are right now is the sacred feminine needs to take center stage once again. Men, and I will put it this way, men rule, women manage.
All right.
And we need management. This rulership sucks.
I'll put something to you, Modi, because about a year and a half ago, I put out that, Trump won't run again in 2020. I don't believe he'll run again in 2020. And there's nobody else saying it. I haven't seen anybody else say it yet. But it has to be passed. So if he's not going to run, my feeling was somebody like Marilyn Williamson might be coming through or something like that. I know. But I'm saying, I'm looking, just like after the 2012, 21st of December, I was looking for the energies to work with and change. And that's when Trump come along. So you're waiting for it, then Q, and you know it, and like that. So for me, I was also thinking, 2020, Trump might not or may not, I'm feeling there's a high potential run. So what's being set up? Now I'm starting to get signals, getting the future clicking in a wee bit. And it's strange and it's totally unbelievable. And that's that Ivanka.
Oh.
And it's really scattering me. But then you look at the noospheric side of it, you look at the templates coming in, etc. And you look at, is it Norway's got 3 women in charge at the moment, young women under 40, Other places, even in New Zealand, we've got a young woman that's just had a baby as our Prime Minister.
Attention. You got my attention with that.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're running with, and that even putting her as the VP, the Vice President, we are noospherically, people will watch this and they'll go, oh, and they'll see things as well, or they may not, but we'll see over the next few weeks, months, whatever. I feel there's something into that. I felt it a year and a half ago. I even put it on the One Truth Forum. I'll put it there. It sounds mad, but I'll put it there. But now I'm starting to feel, oh, there's something going on here. And I feel we may get a few hints from Q in his posts, their posts, I should say, over the next couple of months. Now that I'm only connected into that today. I know we were trying to work out when we're going to do this video and get it started, and I was away for an hour, then you were away for 2 hours, and so I went and did an hour-long meditation, and that floated in.
Let's declare we were talking to women.
We were, interestingly enough, yes. Do you want to explain that? You can if you want.
No. I just, again, as I'm making this presentation about women stepping up to their rightful place of managing the world, because the whole populace came from their wombs. This is, to me, such an obvious claim to right of management. Okay? I understand all men contributed, but once again, can step back and watch what happened after you, okay? I mean, can we please give women their props? This whole population exited their wombs. I want them to manage the place. That's all. I know there was a period, I know from my own phylogenetic memory and little leaks through, whatever comes from us, history, okay? That there was including my own book, The Chalice and the Blade, that talks about a period, 5,000-6,000 years ago of wonderful abundance and no fortifications and no warriors.
Another interesting now aspect is I've got 3 women just outside my door talking. 2 of them have just arrived. So they're actually outside talking as we were going into, as we segued into that. I ended up with 3 ladies outside, right outside the door talking. I'm hoping it's not coming into the audio.
Well, I have to admit, I'm like, look, my lead guitar players that I'm following on YouTube, which, was a few months ago, all women, because they were just different. I've now found this New Orleans band. It's called Tuba Skinny. And the real band leader is the trumpet player, a diminutive, whatever mixed race, Creole lady. Brilliant. She writes it all. And there's a bunch of other musicians, but the other female is the one who plays drums and sings the lead vocal. And she's got this smoky New Orleans voice, and she's just sultry, and she's about 5'11". And just to see, the reason I'm doing this is because to watch this woman lead a band and this woman also like be her cohort in like keeping and they hired some great people. Again, that's the other thing. If you really want to make your management job easy, you hire great people. And that way you give them a little wink and a nod and whatever, and it all works because they're brilliant. And that's good management.
Yeah. I noticed it also at the festival over New Year, and last year a bit as well. If there's any silliness going down, or a bit of bravado on the male part, or a bit of something seen, as you know, at these festivals, there was no pissing around. The women were very strong, and they grouped together very fast. Like a group of 3 here, 4 there, 6 there, 2 there, come together, what are we going to do? And it's like, let's speak up. Let's get that person, the male, a couple of occasions in here. Let's talk with them. Let's find out, because there's some women out there with some pain bodies too, causing chaos. Let's find out the truth, what's going on, etc. You know, and because so the women are growing up as well. They're moving into their power by allowing. You know, a lot of women have been hurt, and their pain bodies will externalize and hurt outside of themselves, and males will play that game. So it was beautiful to watch it in those circumstances where the truth come out, and there was a lot of apologies, both sides, and then it was forgotten about. But there was a little stamp and lots of lines in the sand, unknowingly and knowingly, and it wasn't going to happen again, and it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the teenagers, which I ended up working with or being put in control of, whatever, that was just madness for the whole 5 days for me. You know, I think I meditated more in my life in those 5 days with Ho'oponopono, clearing with the youngsters, continue 4 or 5 hours a day. They were like, he's not looking after the teenagers, he's off meditating again. It's like, oh my God, I haven't cleared so much in my life, because all those young ones, it was just like, how can we provoke? How can we be acknowledged? And that's just what teenagers do. And yeah, so it's interesting to watch these festivals give that potential to happen. You know, is it rising in America? Because you used to have the not the hippie things, but the rainbow gatherings and things like that. You know, they used to get many thousands, and I'm hearing, I don't know, but I'm hearing that the rainbow gatherings, and similar because of the tent cities and the homeless situation, are starting to gather more energy. Is that something you're seeing?
It's not something I've ever followed. I'm not kind of tuned into that, but I would love that. That would be very good intel, in my opinion. Because again, one of the things I really appreciate about this Louisiana band is they're usually performing in the street. So there's people dancing in the street. The percussion, I mean, the woman who sings lead plays like a drum a bass drum she either sits on or wears on her chest. And she plays 1 or 2 mallets, usually 1 mallet and occasionally a second mallet. And she's the lead singer, and she is just awesome. And so they're
Can you put one down below? You know how they put things down below you can watch? Can you put one of their
I'd
vids?
be glad to do that. I'll do that big time, because this is like a treat. This is French Quarter Louisiana jazz. Mm-hmm. And so she provides the bass. The percussion is this guy who has a scratch board. It's basically a washboard. It is a washboard, okay? And at the bottom of the washboard, most of them have either a tin can, like a tin can of like a larger diameter, and a simple cymbal. So that they do scratch, they do tap at the top, they have the cymbal, and then they have the can for like some kind of percussion sound. It is so brilliant. And the thing I really like is when they've done a few things where there's people who could dance, and you see the kind of dance that people do to this kind of music, this French Dixieland. Because the thing about Dixie, there's multiple. I mean, the bass is holding it down. The drum the bass drum is very simple, and the scratch is really cool. But then you have a clarinet, the trumpet. In this case, it's the leader of the band. She has a trombone, and there's a tuba player. You know, I mean, a tuba player is pretty solid. And the way the clarinet, because she plays with the trombone player because they're both brass. So they have a blend. But at the same time, she can also do things with the clarinet. So the way the orchestration of the multiple melodies of how the trumpet's doing one thing, the trombone's doing another thing, the tuba's doing another thing, the clarinet's doing another thing. Then you have the rhythm instruments just keeping whatever the basic rhythm is. You have the bass, and then you have people dancing. And I never saw this kind of dance. Exactly. I mean, it's kind of like a Lindy jitterbug, but not a jitterbug proper. And it's just so, It's so lively. I mean, you know, it's two people dancing. They hold hands, they spin each other, whatever. That kind of dancing.
It
That kind of dancing.
sounds exciting, and it also is. It's because remember when it was that you two got on that apartment roof or something and did their, you know, it was a bit of an advertising thing, but you caught the vibe of it and the people on the street yelling and screaming, and you know, it was that vibe. It sounds similar.
The beauty of
Bit
this
more raw
is,
and real.
and now what I'm going to present in a street kind of music. That's what I'll put in this post.
Okay.
And it's not to take away from the incredibly wonderful acoustic auditoriums that, you know, symphonies play in and ballet occurs. You know what I mean? The high-end shit. This is not to take away from that, but to see people making this kind of music in the street with people dancing, I'm sorry, this is accessible. It takes a little money to go to those places. And it's, nobody's taken away from that. But you know something? Us pagans, we need dancing in the street. We need celebration on a regular basis because life is great.
Music is such
The
a
mother is
beautiful.
abundant and wants us to know more beauty than we can experience. How much beauty can you take? Is her question.
Well, it's, you know, the whirs, or whatever you want to call them, the uglies, the putreds. You know, they took over the music industry, and I'm sure the music industry is also being freed slowly. It sounds like that's one facet of it, what you were just saying then.
Well, basically, I guess what they're doing is keeping it street, and then they have this Venmo, which is some kind of pay, you know, like PayPal type thing, to support them. And this, you know, something, this is the and tip jar. With people this good making good music, if you're willing to bring it out to the people, and that tip jar and other things, you will have a living. You will.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you want to keep it local. That's the other thing. You know, I mean, everybody wants to get an upscale. You know, if you downscale, you can live a really beautiful life.
I can just feel their because you're a muso, I'm not a muso, but I can just feel from what you're saying that their life outside of music is just about non-existent. That's what it feels like. Like music is their lives.
Yeah.
They're having a great time when they're not doing their music because they're with their music family and their music friends, and that's what it feels like. I don't know if it is so.
It is. And I mean, even for myself, as I'm reintegrating, I mean, last Sunday, I went out to do my normal dog pound thing, played my 3 songs with my friend. And he invited over one of the most incredible singers and performers in our area. Her name is Chris Youngblood. She's an albino, and she has a beautiful voice, and she can sing just about every ballad and standard you've ever known. Knows the words, knows the chords, whether it's diminished and augmented. I mean, she is brilliant. So he brought her over, and I invited over one other person. So there was 4 of us, and we made music for 4 hours. And you know, it was because we were sitting in a circle, even songs I didn't know, because I'm a guitar player, I was able to watch them happen and join in basically real time. Harmonies happened. It was, I mean, it was just amazing. And this is, it really, to me, one of the things I'm learning is that all of the good stuff happens offline. And this little by little, I mean, it's not that nothing good happens online. That would be silly. But I mean, the things that are actually, how is the world getting better? In my perception, the world, it gets better in my real life. Online, it just seems like it's a discussion as opposed to an experience that life is getting better. Sophia's correction is correcting. And if you're on the correct side of the correction, you will experience beauty. If you're in the middle, you'll get a little bit jostled. And if you're completely opposed, you might get hurt.
Meltdown.
Yeah, meltdown. Meltdown's a very good, thank you. That's a very good, that's a kind, and just because it doesn't make it sound punitive. It isn't punitive. It's
Well, if you know, we know that Earth has started to really assist the evolvement of humanity in its different ways.
yes.
Whether it be, you know, music's just, you go into nature first thing in the morning or last thing at night, sun rising, sun setting. That is beautiful. That's the musical orchestra of the birds, etc. Incredible.
The Earth has
Incredible.
come out of her shock and trauma. I mean, to me, it's in our system that we really, you know, hold what it was like for wisdom to depart, or at least that aspect of wisdom to depart the galactic center, come into this area, use her nous and life energy to even turn herself into a planet. Because there was a divine experiment that was going on in the galaxy that had not worked out. There were 9 castings of what am I going to call it? A panspermia. Panspermia is the best term. From the galactic center into the arms of the Kenobit so that life could arise. And apparently life like us, which we're going to call the anthropos, Gnostic term, anthropos, okay? There have been 9 arisings, and they all resulted in the kind of bullshit we see today. The, you know, same kind of screwiness. And so now we can use the word Sophia, and I like Sophia because wisdom has a personality. Oh, does our mother have a personality? Oh, man, you want to know her. Okay, but she is wisdom. And again, once again, wisdom sounds like this kind of crusty, dry thing until you meet wisdom. Again, wisdom is a real living being. And that being turned itself into our earth. And that is why there's all this attention throughout the galaxy and everything about what's happening on Earth. Because she, after these failed experiments of Anthropos, she called forth another. She called forth a new human species to exist within her dreaming on her planet. And that's why there's all the fuckery. Because one of the worst things we know, even in our current human species, envy. Envy is one of the worst of all. And so you have the Anthropos 9 throughout the galaxy, and Sophia starts Anthropos 10 on Earth. What do you think might result? Again, envy. We have to understand envy as a motivation that happens when one person sees something, they go, oh, that's better. That's why we are the interest of the galaxy.
So I'm just clarifying for myself, jealousy and envy. You know, envy is wanting something, like if the big brother can reach the door handle to open it, but the little brother can't, he's envious. Not jealous, he just wants to do what big brother can do. Is that?
Yeah. I use the word envy because envy I feel is not as, is kind of basic. Jealousy is kind of really sick. Jealousy is like, I'd rather that, you know, like, I don't care if I don't get that man as long as she doesn't have them. You know what I mean? It's like, there's no win there. Envy is just that, like, oh, look at you, oh, me, you know, where you don't have your own value or whatever. You know what I mean? You make, you know, you resent them because you perceive them as better.
Okay, so one would make a change. With envy, one might make a change. Well, I would like to be like that, or I wish to do that or be, and they would go about maybe making a change.
Yeah, well, and envy comes from the Archons. I mean, the whole envy, to me, there is nothing naturally envious in how we were designed. Envy comes from the Archons, because they do envy us. And if we, and the Archons are very, because they're strictly male. You have to realize, all you have to do is, come on, look at the Bible. I mean, that's a male club. That's a male only club. All right. You know, if men could spit babies out of their penises, they'd be done with women. I mean, really. So, but they can't. So anyway, so I mean, that's a whole other crazy narrative. And I don't know. Maybe
I got an interest. I was just speaking with a friend.
I knew I would lose that trait.
I was just speaking with a friend yesterday, and they were talking about the Bible, and I said to them, "Have you ever looked at the aspect of like the New Testament is actually the old way, and the Old Testament is what happened afterwards to get us to where we are now. So the Old Testament is all what happened after the New Testament. So you had everything starting to come right, evolve. You had Jesus doing this and the disciples doing this and doing all their good work. And then all the shit happened. And that's the Old Testament afterwards.
We have 10,000, we have tens of thousands of years of human culture of the Earth Goddess way before that narrative started. So for me, my whole thing with the whole biblical narrative is leave it to them. Like the Greek, you know, if you had Greeks who still wanted to, you know, embrace Greek mythology or Romans, like let people embrace their mythology. I have no problem with the Hebraic mythology for Hebrews and anybody who wants to follow it, but it's their mythology. I'm a European and I'm also a Gaian, and I know the old ways. And the old ways, I mean, the magnificent structures we still see were built by pagans. All right. So I mean, again, I'm a pagan. I'm a Gnostic pagan, unashamedly attached to our mother. This is, I mean, even the reincarnational cycle, whatever. I'm here with you. What do you need me? Do I need me a nature spirit? Whatever. Do I need to, continue in my line? I'm not tied into that other crap. And anybody who wants to tie into it is welcome to it. And welcome to the life that embracing that system brings you. Because I see it, man. It's so stark now. You know, who's like feeling beauty and like things are getting better, and who feel like we're at the end time. So it's the narrative you're embracing that gives you the view.
Yep.
And mama's going nowhere.
Yeah. And I think it's important to self-identify, and I would just simply say I'm a galactic time traveler choosing this human experience at the moment. Yeah.
That's a very important thing, for me, Vern. Where we came from, once we join her, we're here to be with her. This is a unique experiment. This is beyond, there's nothing like this happening anywhere else that anybody can tell.
Yeah.
And this human species is very special.
I said to you I was talking with you last week about that. It may not have come across on the audio, but we're in that place where I think I spoke of it as let's clean up, do a bit of painting. Let's assist and beautify the cities as much as we can before we leave. Mm-hmm. Because at a certain point we do need to get into harmony again, and we can't, or it's going to get harder and harder to do that in the cities. And I spoke last week about that is now my intention to 13 years in the city is enough. Done my work or job. Let's get out. It's time to move that energy into a nature alignment. On the macro side of that, I'm really interested in what's going to happen, because we've been pushed into the cities for quite a few generations now, more and more. all over the world. Doesn't matter if you're in China or New Zealand or America. They're pushing everybody into the cities. That's going to dissipate more and more.
Well, actually, China is a point I've used in other places where they, China is being credited with lifting the most people out of poverty.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. But what does that mean? They've taken people from a peasant subsistent life with no money, but subsistent, into the cities, and now they have paid jobs, whether they're happy or not.
Okay. Yeah,
This
and that
is the
goes
whole
back.
thing about poverty. Poverty is a measurement of money, not happiness.
Okay. Yeah, I used that last week as well, that there's such a less poverty now than 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago. But being measured on that, like, it's not, is it? So I will stand corrected on that one. I get it, yeah.
And that's the whole thing. If many people have worked and gone to poverty-stricken places, they said laughter and smiles are one of the most common things that the air is filled with laughter and smiles fill the day. As people go about maintaining themselves in their very humble way.
Oh, I remember my spiritual journey started, and I remember going back to my hometown about 6 months, a year later, to my local hotel pub, having a beer. My friends walked in and come up, and they weren't talking much, and they said, "Is it true you're living in a tent in the middle of a paddock before the gypsies?" And I was like, yeah. Yeah. I remember it fondly. I was walking on eggshells because I just didn't know how to be. I didn't know how to not work. You know what I mean? I had to get up and do something each day. I had to go, and I couldn't get up and have my breakfast slowly. I couldn't make conversations. I'd been a workaholic, I suppose, for quite a while. So just going, meeting with people. They all had mobile homes, a couple of gypsy wagons, buses, vans. I had a car and a tent. So I was in a learning curve, but there was probably 3 millionaires out of the 20 people there. There's probably 4 families, so there'd be about 30 people there. There was probably 3 millionaires. There was an American couple. They got out with their children out of America, and they just bought a massive house truck and off they went. But still here. It's like, but yeah, the happiness and the laughter. There was plenty of shit went down because everybody's, if you haven't done the work, and you get amongst people that are doing the work or have done a lot of work, and stuff's going to come up because your belief systems are changing, evolving into your natural state, of your knowing, etc. So there's plenty of stuff going on, especially for me. But the love at times, I'd go back to my tent and cry because I couldn't open up. I didn't know how to. It had been closed as a child, like most of us. So you're in a circle and there's a beautiful conversation had. It's just an everyday conversation, but they were saying there was a few Waitaha people there. They'd done a bit of training, so it was just a talk, 10 minutes. I'd go back to my tent and have a cry because I couldn't join them here. It wasn't a big heart-centered talk. It was just that there was some hearts that were open. So you're learning far, and I feel this is probably happening on the macro scale as well, because more and more people are connecting, the heart and the heart and the head, and the gut, the Dainten, the gut, the knowing, the feelings, and you can just have a talk. And this is what we talked about in our first video too back, that having these talks will affect people. We will talk about this. We'll be all over the place because we'll just be going with it, from music to this to dream spell to that, whatever. But as we're talking, the energy will rise, And there's many people that will stop listening after a week, 10, 20, 30 minutes, but there's going to be a lot more people starting to feel it. And I'm feeling it now, starting to rise again. And as the last 2 weeks, I've got really pissed off because as the energy went up, the audio would, and we haven't got that this week, and I'm just loving it. Did I tell you that last week there was a segment where the energy was going up and I could feel it going up and it went up even again. And as it did, I went, oh shit, I suppose it cut out. And you said it didn't. And I watched myself on the video later. I was like a Cheshire cat because I'd finally got through. And I was just like this for like, you talk for 10 minutes and I was going, yep, got it. Yeah.
Well, Vern, I really like, the idea of you talking about when people leave the cities, they leave them more beautiful.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because I have this concept. It's called Aria. Has nothing to do with skin color. To me, it means nobility. And nobility has nothing to do with your blood. It has everything to do with your performance. So you can't inherit nobility. You're either noble or you are not.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And so the whole thing, so for me, a noble people would abandon a place and leave it more beautiful.
Is there a connection in there with Tartaria?
Of course.
The Tartarian? Oh, okay.
The Aria part of Tartaria lets us know, I guess, that I think they were giving some homage to the native people who called themselves Tatars. There was a native population that was not Aryan.
Okay.
The Aryans, once again, the whole idea of the Aryan nobility is to share, is to spread. In other words, if this group was seen to be given an understanding, or because they embraced it or had the proclivity to understand the secrets of nature, how to be what we were meant to be on the planet. And so the whole idea is, if you're a noble person, the idea is you must export this, and you must export it gently. You must export it with love and compassion. And apparently they were quite successful. And that's what we call the Tartarian type thing, where we see this really beautiful architecture and we can tell something really wholesome once existed there.
Yeah.
And then they were followed by the Phoenicians. And again, to me, the parallel is the same thing on Atlantis. Again, I mentioned before, you had the good guys, the Amelias, who wanted to keep everything real wholesome, and then you had the ones who got all crazy about the science. So it's very clear that there's two groups we have an original species of humans of very high capacity. One group stayed noble, one group went sour. And then ultimately what we almost see, kind of like I say, a Martin Lee Key's thing, is the Tartarian and Phoenician. And the Phoenician is really easy to pick because it's all square. Everything's fucking square. Harsh edges, nasty. It's nasty. The Tartarian stuff almost always has its corners rounded, if not octagonal, somehow muted, and they sit there almost like pieces of nature.
Very like Notre Dame, like
where
the huge.
Yeah, the Phoenician things sit there like fortresses. They lean on you. They're nasty. The Tartarians are like part of. It's almost like, how would we use concrete or stone to fit into nature? And that's the Aria. The Aria they're pagan, fed by Mother Earth, the secrets of nature, and they built in accordance with that.
That is one of the big secrets that's coming out of late. How those massive, beautiful cathedrals were not religious centers to start with. Were not religious places. They might have been prayer places or sacred.
Sacred.
They weren't.
Sacred.
Yeah, sacred.
Of course.
Yeah.
Sacred is what we're about. I mean, we're Homo sapiens sapiens originally, the wise of the wise. And the whole thing of wisdom is we live sacredly, but once we know wisdom and we know pleasure, I mean, wisdom and sacred is not some kind of prudy place, but it is very wise. But it ain't prudy, not at all.
Yeah, there's been some absolutely fascinating material on the where do they do all the gladiator work in those places?
The Colosseums.
The gladiators.
Colosseums.
The Colosseums. That was absolutely mind-boggling to find out that some of these cities had several Colosseums, the big ones, big cities, and they were water purifiers. They were nothing to do with gladiators and killing and they were the water purifiers.
Right.
And they did put the because there's it's been archived and they know about it, the big sheets across as part of the purification process across these great big colosseum, and then the aqueducts taking the water to them. Some of them were triple aqueducts. There's other things happening as well. It's incredible when you're finding out.
And meanwhile, so they use the fact that there is obvious hydraulic and water stuff going on there. They had Navy battles.
Yeah. See, now it's laughable. Yeah. But the historians, how long will it take them to let their truth go? It's going to be so interesting. Now, we've got some beautiful times ahead as more and more truths coming out that is startlingly obvious once you know.
To me, this is where we reclaim our human spirit and our creativity. When we look at some of these explanations and we look at it and go, that is from an inferior species. This is garbage. This is junk. This is crap. This was made from monkeys. This is one smarter group of monkeys making a story for a dumber group of monkeys. This is monkey story.
The good thing is it will become so logical. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to become absolutely silly to logical for some of the historians. It's going to be what doesn't make sense, and it's not that they're dumb. It's just that they're only parroting what they've read.
Yeah, you have to. For me, we're all hybrids now. I mean, there were two very distinct species. Well, it's all there's making any claim of anything gets a little silly. The only thing we can claim now is what spirit are we responding to? Is the creator where we're tapping into, or are we going into creations by other minds and getting lost? And that to me that's where it all comes down to, because we're all hybrids. So now you either tune into the right frequency or enjoy the entropy.
Suffering.
Yeah, suffering, unfortunately, and suffering from not tapping into what's available. This is the whole thing. It's right there. All you have to do is make the decision and say, this is where I source myself from.
Well, that's something we touched on last week, is the suffering's diminishing, we're evolving, and the faster thing exponentially the suffering is going, can't stop what's coming. What's happening. All you have to do is sometimes, as humanity goes like that, and we all do it, doesn't matter where you are, you can't be happy all the time. To appreciate happy, you're going to have to go with your things.
No.
Oh, good, here we go.
No, this is I love you, bro.
Love you too. Fire away.
Because this is, to me, what I consider one of the mind poisons that we need to know like nastiness to appreciate goodness, which is why why the challenge of the goddess to us is how much beauty can you take?
Okay.
Because
Expand.
she will give you endless beauty. You don't need to know bad to appreciate beauty if you truly appreciate beauty. If you truly appreciate beauty, you don't need to be thrown through a shit pile to appreciate the fact that you're not in one. To just appreciate beauty at its inception, as it comes to you, as it's gifted to you, as it's your sovereign right to be in her dreaming. You don't need the contrast. You can just have beauty. And that's her challenge. Her challenge is how much beauty can you take? Because you think you need to know bad to know beauty. Fuck that.
Is that a stage?
What a stage.
Well, I'm living in the city, so I don't get a hell of a lot of choice. I'm going to see some, let's say, negative things. Mm-hmm. Now, if I'm living in the forest, say, or close by or something, or a very small town that's got good people in it, just say, I can do the beauty thing. But if I've got stuff within me, that's the suffering, if you want to call it, that needs to be let go of, like maybe my belief that I had a minute or so ago that you replied to, that's where the suffering happens there. You know what I mean?
It's the beauty that's informing us what sucks.
Okay. That's what I was waiting for. Say that again.
It's the beauty that's informing us that's what stinks. In other words, to me, to be like the Tao, you're in the way. So if you're in the flow, you're in the flow. If you go out of the flow, then you get all kinds of weird currents, and that might that might be suffering.
I got you. Yeah. I've done the. I think the best I did was 3 months. 3 months. I was never not happy. You know, it was an amazing thing. And then I remember Spirit coming in, going, yeah. Now do this with somebody else. I was like, okay, you know, and I proceeded to go through hell. So that's why I asked about stage, you know. But after I had gone through that, you know, like I think it was 6 months later, I came out of it and I was able to move to a higher form of appreciating beauty and being in beauty and being the beauty. Mm-hmm. That's probably why I'm saying, is it a stage? Is it something that, you know, you can't just go from suffering into that and stay there, becoming enlightened in the moment and staying there. But you can become woke, awakened, awakening, and appreciating the beauty as you go. But you don't have to know the shit to know the beauty. You can be in beauty and be informed. Mm-hmm.
And
gotcha.
One of my favorite sayings of enlightenment is, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. That really nails it for me. Okay? I don't care, you know, I mean, enlightenment is wonderful. But you need we still need to chop wood and carry water, because we're going to need to drink and make some fires. So
yeah.
You may understand what you're doing in the difference in another thing, but you're still going to be doing it.
Who, and it's an easy question, who in the world is doing that at the highest order at the moment? They've got shit 24/7 coming at them from mainstream media. They've got all these people. They've got impeachments and hoaxes. Is Trump not chopping wood, carrying water, chopping wood, carrying water? Might be a bit of vanity there, but I just, as you said that, I went, oh wow, there's somebody in the world at the moment, whether you love him or hate him, that is just chopping. Mind you, I believe he has a big group above him.
I do too.
He's a very good puppet.
I do too. No, I mean, actually, I just got off a conversation with my last wife, and she is of quite a different opinion than you and I, shall we say. But here's the interesting thing. She has me kind of in that camp, and she also has a cousin of hers in that camp. And as she's complaining about the people who are not being so nice to her in her life, all the people who are not being nice to her are the people who agree with her politically. The two people who are actually showing her love and compassion are the two people she disagrees with politically.
Interesting.
The ones who are actually caring about, I mean, he hooked her up with some business thing. I make sure that I call her weekly, and whatever I could be in the greatest place, she can just dump, and I don't care. That's what I call for. If you've had the shittiest week in your life, tell it to me. That's what I call you for. And
I've just realized I've got my cord. It's about to run out of power, so I'm just gonna quickly grab it.
That's all right. I'm gonna get a new refreshment.
Okay. Do as you wish during this.
We're back.
Don't usually get that in a vid, do you?
Yeah, this is a very interesting time we're in. And I have to, I feel very filled with love and compassion. I'm actually surprised at how much I really feel other people. Empathy. But sympathy, no sympathy. And the reason why is because I already feel them. I feel their pain. And they're fucked up, man. They're a wreck. And I feel good. So if anybody's going to sympathize with anybody, you better sympathize with me. Because I feel good. All right? So once again, here's just two things. Who's going to you feel like shit. I feel great. Who's going to sympathize with who? You better sympathize with me. Because sympathize means to meet the vibration. That's what sympathize means. Okay?
Expand.
So you have a shit vibration and you have a good vibration. Where are we going to go? You know, where are we going to go? All right. I mean, come on. So I have empathy. I have compassion. I have the desire to help. But to sympathize with somebody who feels like shit, fuck that. You sympathize with me because I feel real good. You sympathize with me and your life will get better. Because your life is discordant. Why would I sympathize with discordance? What benefit is there for either of us? Two people out of tune? No. One person out of tune, one person in tune. Hello, here's the note. Come on, come on, come on, here's the note.
I think if you're...
Because I'm talking like a
vibration
musician too, though. You know, I'm a musician.
I'd say if you're vibrationally or vibration-wise, if you can't... Oh, God, you've got a couple of curly ones going with me, haven't you? This one here, if I see somebody and they're not in a good space, I would sit with them. They're not going to affect me.
I sit with them and I tell them I can actually feel their pain. I let them know I feel their pain. I do that with a lot of people. I let them, I feel it, man. This is horrible, man. I mean, I'm right there with them.
That's better. I thought you were vying for the best grumpy old man award then, but I feel you now.
No, once I feel them, I'm like, it's like, ah, this is horrible. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get back to where I am and send that to you. Because I felt you and I don't want you there. That hurts. That's terrible. That's empathy. Again, we don't need to keep your finger in the tub. Put your finger in. What's the reading? You got the reading, man. There's no need to stick around in that. Now you can stick around support-wise. In other words, I have touched you, I have felt you, and I don't have a solution, but maybe just being with you and letting you know I felt your pain. And if you just want to dump on me, if you just want to tell me about your pain, I got an ear for that. But I'm not going to come to, once again, I'm not going to sympathize. I've already empathized with you. I already have all the information I need through empathy. So, you know, it's just, so again, we need to have like some kind of move with some kind of coherence and hygiene and even triage. You understand triage? I mean, you know, we have, you know, the world has been a mess. There is a lot of hurt people, but some people are ready to kind of get back in the mix quickly. There's a secondary group, take a little more time, and there's a third group that's going to take a lot of time.
Yeah.
That's why it's called triage.
What did you think? It's a talking point I wanted to look at with your Māori about the virus, corona.
Okay. The only reason I have any concern about it is because people are talking about it and it's having an effect in the world. Personally, it's a non-issue.
Yeah, exactly the same for me. What I was really watching strongly because a lot of people believe that just like the First and Second World War and most wars, these are well organized beforehand and solutions are well organized beforehand, and how much money can we make is well organized beforehand. So a lot of us were looking for who's giving the money where, and who's creating vaccines where and who's behind those organizations, who's going to be making the money, who's tainted, in other words. And we know the usual suspects, and it's starting to come out already, and that is famously fast. That's massively fast, that they've already got names there. Oh, they've got a vaccine ready, they can do this, they can do that. And then did you see the university, the young ones, that created a antidote or something within a very short time? Yeah, it's only just come out.
Vern, this is all theater to me.
Oh,
I don't care. I know there's people who are dying, but it's, first of all, I mean, I've been doing body work for 30 years. Fortunately, before I entered it, I realized that you can't get sick from people if you have a good immune system.
Yep.
So about the time I entered body work is also about the time I became a vegetarian, an intelligent vegetarian who knows how to feed themselves and make sure everything is satisfied. And I've been a vegetarian for 29 years now. So at the same time, so when in my whole 30-year, 29 career of body work, I never would not work on a sick person because their virus was their virus. It had nothing to do with me. I knew my immune system was sound and I had no problems. And I've had people go, oh, maybe you shouldn't hug me, I have a virus. I've hugged every single person that told me you shouldn't hug me. No consequence. Okay, I have 30 years of working on, I tell people, if you're comfortable being on the table, I'll work on you. Because they've asked, well, I said, it's about you. As long as you can get on the table, I'll work on you. I don't care what, I'll hand you tissues. No concern. And again, I did real life experimentation with that. And my own experimentation is I was right.
Your own best doctor, as they say.
But if you believe something, that affects your reality. So my belief was my immune system is my immune system. Unless I run myself down, I can't get sick. And I got to tell you, every single time I've gotten sick, the few times in 30 years I've gotten sick is when I've been run down. Not contact with anybody, just running myself down. So, I mean, not everybody may have the capacity. I think I have the capacity to think like a doctor. And I've also done training. I mean, my training is crazy. I don't even want to talk about it. Anybody who knows me knows I'm fairly intelligent. And if I tell you I have training, okay. It would be, it's kind of crazy training. Everything I could possibly do to be like at the top of my game.
Can we jump into the future, Muddy?
Jump wherever you wish.
I've sort of noticed, because I don't talk about it much, about the future touching me. It touches everybody, I believe, or potentials. But I've been a bit more open the last couple of months, so I've been talking a wee bit more freely about, people say, why do you feel that? Or what's your angle there? And I'll sit there and I'll go, oh, I sometimes sort of get a good potential of the future, and I put that into my timelines, and then nowadays I'm starting to speak more freely about that. So people are saying, well, people are really getting pushed and they want to know potentials in the future. They ain't going to go to a card reader or whatever, but they do try and find, as you were saying earlier on, the data to put together for themselves. So for me, it was like, well, what's coming up in the future? I'm watching this virus, as we're just talking about. I'm giving it no time. Many of us don't give it any time. It's not really directly affecting us, except for what's on the news if we're watching it. I didn't feel the future touching me as far as the virus was concerned, so I didn't give it any time. What I was getting was all these other things, like there's some madness going to happen in July. So then I was reading that they can't prosecute a senator or something except for when the Senate's not in or open. I don't know, fully understand the American system, but in August they can. They can prosecute a senator or somebody in the House or the Senate, I'm not too sure, in the month of August. So with all these sealed indictments and all these other things, if they're ever going to prosecute and put things into play, it's going to be in August. July will be the prep energy. Now, for me, I don't do the New Year thing as such, the Christmas New Year. This is my New Year. My New Year starts in July, at the end of July, on the day out of time, Duke Day, the 26th of July. That's when my New Year starts. It's the Rising of Sirius. It's a 3-day event. So I have Duke Day, and then the next day is the card carrier for the year, or a magnetic wizard, because it was the start of a new 13-year wave spell. Next year, well, this year, when we hit July 26, we go into lunar storm year, just before August. And I'm just sitting there going, wow, this year, January, felt like a whole year. So much happened in January. It's like, oh my God, and it's still happening that way. We're halfway through February, and I think it's sort of pulled back a wee bit, but it's also ramping up a wee bit. So the time we get to to July, August, and that archetypal energy of the storm, which is change, but the lunar energy, lunar storm for a whole year, that's intense. I can go back 13 years, and I think it was lunar moon year. I'll have to check back to make sure. Probably not. Anyway, it's like they're intense years because lunar is magnetic, which was last year, was pulling it all in, the magnetic, bringing it all in. Then the lunar year is, what are we going to do with it? It's all, it's higgledy-piggledy. And then you've got and then the following year is electric. I haven't got the calendar's here.
Yeah, the lunar energy is very much about reflection.
Yeah, sorry. And the following year is electric seed. So that's when the energy is moving. Boom, boom, boom. So that lunar storm year that we move into in July, I believe is going to be hugely important. So I'm picking that July is we're going to keep building up January, February. It's going to keep amping up to some degree. And we're going to get to June, halfway through. June's always the middle of the year as such. But then when we hit July, I feel that if you wanted to keep on top, keep your immune system high, keep your balance high, do your work, do your qigong or whatever your practice is for your mind and your body and your spirituality and your emotional body, whatever your practices are. If you're going to put things in a timeline for yourself, it would be like, as you hit the middle of the year, especially July, get prepared. I don't mean move out of the city or whatever, or get food supplies or anything like that. It's just get yourself, your balance prepared in July for August.
Yes. Well, one of the reasons I'm also very unconcerned about the coronavirus, besides personally, but it's like kind of like a social event, is because I live in the sticks. I live in this little tucked away nowhere place in southwestern Virginia, far away from airports and all the rest of that nonsense. So the fact that I'm so removed from the big hubs of civilization makes it relatively safe. I mean, people, get the fuck out of cities. What are you waiting for? I'm serious. No. I mean, if you're part of the woke shit and you live in a city, then maybe consider yourself a warrior, and then you're there to fight the tough fight when it gets fucked up, because it's going to get, if things do go bad, the cities. So if you like cities, just be prepared to be a serious warrior if you're woke.
Yeah, when it comes to the future touching me, or the potentials touching me, I do see in 8-9 years' time, the city's only being half full. It's in a short 8-9 years' time.
Cities aren't fun.
Pardon?
Cities are not fun in the heart sense. They're just lots of stimulation, of stimulation. And if you like the shiny things, cities are great. But if you want home, how can you feel home in a city? The great anonymity of the city. We're not based. Anonymity is not how we build society. That's how we build relationships. That's how we build enduring things.
It's interesting. I once went to join a community in Christchurch. It's actually, I think, one of the longest communities without a religious base or a culture sway or whatever. It was just a community. And I didn't get in. I won't go into the reasons, but I didn't get in, and it was like, oh. And it's like, I started to research that side of it, and I realized that when communities start up, they're always, you get all the hippies together, or go back to the 60s, 70s, or these different communities, whatever, there's always somebody that wants to take over. There's always a couple that become the power couple, or a cult theory or thought system in place. Now that is changing now.
Yep, it is.
And the only reason it's changing is because it can now. It couldn't 2 years ago, and you had to be very, very strong to hold a community together. Now, I've seen one community that's held together very well, and they're bringing people in all the time to do mind work, clear themselves, do the sacred stuff and everything else. They don't stay. You know, they might stay for 2 months tops, and then they're gone. You know, and all the ones that are there are more really well mind known. You know, quite a few gurus, a lot of women teachers, and it's still going. They have their fun and games, but they're holding the energy, and they're also holding a few ley line points that are very strong. Now, when the shit hits the fan, which it does every so often, because you're going to get build-ups, it always clears very fast. The only people that get upset are the people that are there to learn and let go and transmuting and all that. They might go through a bigger journey, but all the ones that are in it, you know, I've seen it already. I'm seeing it being set up in New Zealand in certain ways, and I see a lot of them don't last long. You've got to have some elders in there.
You have to have elders. And actually, we cannot build communities until we have true sovereignty, and that means no property tax. You have to realize, I mean, as long as you cannot live free. Once again, I mean, I have my own issues with even with private property. But if we're going to have private property, can we please purchase it and then go the fuck away? This is what is holding us back. Government. And you want to build something, and even if you buy the land, you know, default on it. I mean, they had some cases, some guy who underpaid his property tax by $3, and he had, you know, he already paid his house, and they put his house on the market and sold it out from underneath him. This is a horror story. Okay, I don't want to make a big deal about it, but the thing is, government is the problem. If people don't have a land, if people can't say this is us, and here's our land, and to me, the way we really claim it is we go into a land, we claim our boundaries, and we have our women on their monthly cycles bleed into the land and say, this is our land. That's the original blood and soil concept, not warriors. Women saying this is our land where we raise our families. My DNA is now in the soil. Mother Earth knows me, and I will now raise my DNA on this soil.
You've just triggered a memory from the Ringing Cedars books by Vladimir McGray, which are just behind me there, right there. Mm-hmm. 9 books, and in it, one of the old ones is as a negative consciousness comes into the old Russia or Rus. They're finding the couples that are anchoring the energy in such a wide area. You know, they've just got a little cabin, but they've got their 3 hectares of land. They've got the fruit, and they've got the water and everything else. Mm-hmm. And they kill the old couple. The old couple are defending themselves, but they can't kill anybody. It's a Waitaha thing here in New Zealand as well. You know, you can't kill anybody. So they're just defending themselves for quite a long time, and finally they get killed. And the first thing that the head man does is orders the apple tree to be cut down. Huge big apple tree, I don't know if it's a normal thing, out in front of the house. The apple tree was sort of the holder or something about it. I never actually worked it out, but it was like the first thing. Once they're dead, next biggest fear to kill or was to cut that down straight away. Cut it down. It always got me that.
Well, this is where we see the anti-life spirit. And it comes from the Abrahamic traditions. And if we don't face that, we don't get it. And that is something that everybody, I'm very content for the Abrahamic people to have their traditions. Small part of the world. Go away. Go there, practice whatever you want. It's not mine. And to me, the fact that the Aryan psyche and other noble people, including, even in Africa, I mean, the Native Americans, I mean, there are Native American Christians. This is horrible to me. This is horrible to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, because it represents an Abrahamic tradition, the tradition that would cut down a fucking tree.
Mm. I would say to you, you wait for it. Sophia, Earth, Gaia is going to assist us more and more, because within those Ringing Cedars series, as this great army came in to take over, to do their usual stuff, they sent a little girl out. And the girl was asking, I read them so fast, so long ago, even though I took it all in, it's hard to remember specifically. And the girl walks away, and as she's walking away, there's a black cloud arriving from the distance, and everybody can hear a hum, and it's all the bees. And they just go in. It's quite beautiful. Even though it's got a roughness to it, it's quite beautiful. And the way it was written was amazing. Just having like a little girl going out and talking. So why are they sending out a little girl, Yeah. And then, beautiful.
My sense of compassion is like, I look at the human body. I don't look at nature from my model. I look at the human body. The cooperation between the organs. There's no competition per se. There's a sharing of resources. Okay, one mouth, all the organs, is so much blood, and the blood gets shared. I mean, it's a beautiful system. The other beautiful system that we as human beings need to embrace from our human body is the immune system. Now, the funny thing, I mean, there is to me, there's an esoteric teaching about the immune system, because it's a scientific fact that the T killer cells are, quote unquote, educated in the thymus gland. And that's why they're called T cells. T killer cells, the T is for thymus. The thymus gland is located between the heart and the throat chakra. Anybody who really understands, the solar plexus is the lower will, the expressed will is the true will. So the throat chakra is true will. That's the real will, not the lower will. The heart is wisdom, compassion, empathy. So the thymus is located between the will and compassion. That gland is unique, and it even responds to the different, the thyroid or the throat chakra is blue. The heart chakra is green. The thymus is blue-green, the color of aquamarine. And if you can feel it right at your bump on your sternum right there, that's where your thymus is. But anyway, the thymus is where regular white blood cells that can kind of do general cleanup work are educated. And this is medical technology. I am not extrapolating this. This is not new age shit. All right, go ahead, look up T cells educated in the thymus gland. That is the wording. I'm not making it up. Okay, this is scientific. And I remember sitting in it when I was in 2008, when I was in massage school, learning about this, and I was already a mystic and already knew about the chakra system. And I'm sitting and I'm listening, and I'm going, this is amazing. This is truly amazing. And then a few years later, when I really got embraced, with Sophia and wisdom, and understood what that meant, and what the whole thing about the thymus education is, these are cells that are out to kill. But They have the will to kill. That's why they got that blue in there, the will to kill. But it's only on hygiene. So the whole thing is the body identifies what is pathogenic, what is hurting us. And that's the job of the T killer cells, is to have the wisdom to know what needs to be removed and the will to do so. Because killing is ugly business, but when it comes to preserving what is wholesome and something unwholesome is attacking it, you better mount an immune response.
Wow. Wow. You know, like I always do the macro, and as soon as you're talking, you know, besides learning, I'm like, well, that's a macro at the moment. You know, there is a couple of T cells, probably called Trump cells, that are going, no.
I'm a T cell. I am a T cell.
Mm, mm,
Seriously.
mm. I'm probably too much of a nurturer still. Learning still.
And to me, part of the the culture of the warrior is the will to kill. The human being sometimes, you know, especially since it's been corrupted, you know, like, oh, we're just all about killing. No, we're actually all about beauty and peace and eros. But if you will threaten that, any healthy body will take your shit out quickly. We're having too much fun for you to fuck with us. We have nothing but beauty and wonder and eros and culture to bring you. If you're going to interrupt that, you're a pathogen.
You've triggered another memory for myself. It's like within the Waitaha law, when things were getting bad and they were getting hunted, especially down the South Island, they had a peoples that sort of got separated for some time and came back in. They're known as the dog people. And the dog people were still Waitaha as such, but they were able to take blood. They're able to kill or protect, like a T cell. And they were always on the outer of the circle because they could protect while the rest could run. And interestingly, from memory, the old kuya, the old ladies were next. Not the young men or the children or the old men. The old ladies, the old kuya. They were next because they had the power of the mind thought.
They had the tradition. They were the holders of what was sacred.
They could hold an energy field, was my understanding. A lot of the Waitaha law, you hear the story, and then wherever you're at, you get the other. You actually get the underneath layer, and then 5 years later, you might go, oh, there's another layer, and there could even be another layer. Quite often, there's layers to the story. You get parables, if you know what I mean. But I'm pretty sure it was the ladies were next in line, not because they were going to physically fight. They were mentally and emotionally protecting and creating an energy field, and probably assisting the dog people in front as well.
Well, I think you might, you know, because I'm familiar with you, but some of the people, because this is our third talk, might not know what Waitaha is, and maybe you might want to expand that for them.
Okay.
And I will be stepping away while you speak. I'll be right back.
Okay. Another ad break. The
Waitaha.
Waitaha were the people before marriedom. They acknowledged there was people in New Zealand before them, people before them, and those before them. So there's a long history that's not in the history books. The Waitaha are, but they're known as a dead race, or they was taken over as slaves and eaten, etc., by the consciousness that was coming in. That's of course is not the truth. We're still Waitaha today, through blood, through the oral law, through ancestry, and through past life. So there's sort of 4 connections into the Waitaha in that respect. And there's many. And of course, you know, you don't have to live in New Zealand or be born in New Zealand to be Waitaha. It's acknowledged here that's Waitaha. If you're overseas, there will be a form as such of Waitaha, usually. Sometimes it was a complete wipeout of the consciousness, because it is a consciousness. I've met Waitaha people that their consciousness is not so high, but they will be in the midst of gifts of learning, and there's the Wainanga, or the schools are going again. Not as big as they should be. They're very small, and each individual is doing their mahi, or their work. But for me, I work with I do my mahi with a segment of the population that I can do best with, and just in general life, who you meet and your choices made in the moment. You know, that would be my way of being Waitaha. There's a waiting at the moment within New Zealand for a call, and when that call's been made, and it's been years in the waiting, when the call is made by whomever, however, why ever, there will be a gathering. A big gathering. And there'll be a bit of spontaneity about it. And when that time comes, it will be just before a power shift that's earth guided, that's galactic guided, God guided, universe guided, if you want. It'll be just before. And there'll be people linking up through their minds, through the power of their emotions, through their gut. There won't be many just across the earth. You know, you don't have to go to a destination. They'll be connecting up. You know, we talked about it last week, how the internet is the last port before telepathy. So there'll be a telepathic rising when that event or that energy happens, whenever it may be. The call goes out just before.
I really believe telepathy has not been absent from us that long. My theory is, why would a previously telepathic species stop being telepathic?
Didn't happen that way.
Okay, what do you think?
I go past the theory because I got the experience of having a telepathic communication with a person that couldn't communicate.
I've done it with I've done it recently. My most amazing experience, because I just recently experienced with understanding that to telepathically transmit a thought to somebody into their brain, you need to use your throat chakra to think from it. You don't do it from here. You do it from your throat chakra.
Okay. It wasn't my experience, but
well, I've experienced, and then so recently I was at a bar of all things, and somebody had a baby there. And I said, I'm going to experiment. So I used my throat chakra, and I said, if you can hear me, look right at me. And immediately she looked at me.
Nice.
Her name was, I forget, it was a long name. And I remember, so she had a sister that was a couple of years older than her, who I didn't know was in telepathic contact with her sister until I started saying things her sister was telling me, and the daughter says that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I was blown away, because this talkative, highly intelligent, I don't know, 6, 7-year-old was in complete communication with her younger sister, who was not yet vocal. But they were in complete communication. And the fact, and I confirmed that I had actually gotten true communication by speaking to the nonverbal one, sharing it with the verbal one, and going, that's correct.
Cool.
And so that's when I turned to her father. I said, I don't want to be, I want to tell you how to raise your kids. But this other daughter, the one that can speak, she actually knows what your younger one who can't speak is thinking. You might want to take advantage of that.
Wow. Yeah. What did he say?
He didn't know what to say. I mean, come on. I never met the man. Here I am. We're in a drinking establishment. I'm having a beer in front of me. And, and suddenly, but once again, I'm sitting there and I see this child and I feel this energy. And you know what's funny? Here's how I tuned into her. There was music happening, and he was moving his daughter to the music. And she was tolerating it, but I could tell she didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
So shortly after that, I said, that's when I used my throat chakra and to speak. And I said, if you can hear me, look at me. She looked at me. And then that's when I asked her, do I have the right reading about the music? She didn't really give me words, as she kind of just gave me complete ideas. And so I remember telling her father, while the talkative daughter was there, that she really loves the music, but she'd rather not be moved to it. And the daughter said, wait, she says, that's right.
Your turn for the advertisement. I've got to pee.
Okay. So I hope these mystic brews that I've done with Ayanawa, which is his Waitaha name. He's also known as Vernon. And I hope, once again, this is what I am comfortable doing, because I can talk to Vern directly. I don't have to kind of decode. And I have a feeling that the fact that I don't decode with him actually helps it get out there. So anyway, we'll find out. I am working on some music videos, but for now, it's really kind of conversations, because we really are in a very important times, and our alignment is crucial. Don't be clueless in creation, please, please. And if you have a bad creation story, you're clueless in creation. Doesn't mean you don't have a good heart. I have met many people who I consider clueless in creation that are guided by their hearts and still do some pretty amazing, beautiful, wonderful things. So if you haven't got a good creation story, at least go into your heart and listen. The Creator is not dead. There's no need for books. The Creator is alive. Get into the real-time intel. The Creator is alive. There's no need for books. The Creator is alive. What do you think of that?
Sounds like an interesting ad.
Well, that's one of the things I taught. I have a really good friend of mine who's a Muslim, and I said, brother, the creator's either alive or not. And if the creator's alive, those of us who can be in touch, and we should all endeavor to be so, have real-time information. I mean, now, if your creator died, then I understand why it needed to leave a last will and testament. I mean, come on. What's with this written shit? What is with this written crap? The creator's either alive or not. And if the creator's alive, we don't need a bunch of written crap. Tune in and be a part of it. It's in real time. Creation is in real time. It isn't some plan with an end time and blah, blah, blah. The greatest story ever told. Remember, that's what they call the Bible. The greatest story ever told, and it's a great story. Then you have reality. And the greatest story ever told, it has nothing to do with reality other than the reality that resulted from the greatest story ever told.
I've got the young one to put to bed.
That's one of the reasons. I mean, again, I just, I listen to so much, people I subscribe to, and they're chasing, they're just lost, man. I don't know who to talk to. I really don't. If this is what interests you, then I got nothing to say.
Obligation.
Obligation of what?
To yourself.
Well, yeah, to me, my obligation to myself is to stay in a healthy, to be a conduit for the divine consciousness onto the earth, to breathe that love, to bring that wisdom, and that lack of confusion that most people seem to be flying around with. Everybody's so fucking confused. There's no need to be confused. If you're confused, it's because you have a shit narrative of your creation. You have no fucking idea where you are in creation. If you're confused, you have a shit creation story.
So on that note, because I'll be putting this in your on the One Truth forum in your video section. I'm also going to be putting it on above top secret in the Q section, and I've I realised I've got to go put the young one to bed soon, and we've hardly done any talk on Q and so I'm feeling a wee bit guilty at the moment. There's not too much on the Q.
I think we engage more people by being mystical than talking about Q.
Oh yeah, it was just my obligation. When I said the word obligation to you, to yourself, it also came to me that I've got an obligation. I said something. I put some words on a screen saying, well, we're putting our third one up. We've got the audio right, and we've probably talked 3 times longer than normal the last 2 vids, and there's only been a couple of wee qubits. So I thought maybe we can finish with some Q.
Oh, well, okay, let's finish with Q. I think Q is one of the greatest organic intel things that have ever happened. I really organic, yeah. It was primed, but it really is fed by quote unquote the autists. And in case anybody doesn't know, there are people who track the way boats move. There's all this kind of different intel. And the funny thing is, what do they call themselves? If you track the way boats move, they call themselves boat fags. Fags. Okay? Like faggots. This is the self-deprecating humor of the autists, who don't give a shit what you think about them. They know they're brilliant. They know how smart they are.
For people out there, Modi is an autist. Would you say that?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. People don't know, so maybe you can define that a wee bit for them.
Well, I'm on this end of the spectrum. It's called ASPE. And it was funny, even in my earlier conversation with wife number 4, who says, "Oh yeah, you have Asperger's." I don't have shit. I'm an ASPE. If you had a cure, I'd tell you to go fuck yourself. Okay.
And this is what's happening with Q, because the autists are the ones digging. They're the ones going, this makes sense.
You know something? The autists are the ones who appreciate reality, like the beauty of reality. They really do. They're simple. I mean, for me, the biggest problem of being an ASPE is not doing the happy dance all the time. I'm ready to like just burst out and just dance and be happy, because the creation is beautiful. And so, and then you run into the consensus reality that is built very much by the media. The media is I mean, when I'm talking to people, anybody I have a problem with is talking to me from information they've gotten from the media, not from the library.
The cranky old man said something beautiful. He said, don't worry about these top people and Hillary Clinton not getting indicted and hung and all this sort of stuff.
I'm not worried at all.
Because what it's all about, he was saying, and it was beautifully said, a lot better than I'm saying it now, was it's the controllers. That's where the buck stops. There's no use the buck stopping at the Clintons or whatever. It has to stop at the controllers, whoever they may be.
Right.
Now, and the first thought when you hear controllers is the Fat Controller and Thomas the Tank Engine, etc. So some of the bullshit that goes into our children's narrative is, anyway, letting that go. Yeah, it's coming down to the big picture, the big hawk, eagle in the sky picture, not the little sparrow on the ground. That archetype up there is going, and through cranky old man, it was like controllers. Now, who are the controllers? This is the next thing coming out. There's going to be some names coming out over the next few months that we've never heard of, and they're going to be the controllers.
But all they control is the narrative.
Exactly.
And so we either come together and say, fuck them.
That's Q. That's the Q thing.
Here's our story. We're tired of his story. This is our story, which was hidden in the word mystery, which means my story.
Ah, I love it. I never knew that one.
The mysteries are our story.
Oh, this mystic's happy. Oh, thank you. I had the her story, the his story. I never got the my story.
My story. Mystery is our story. That's our story. And then you have, the confusion of the mysteries. That's why, again, I'm a Gnostic. Anybody who's going to rely on the Nag Hammadi codices as they were written, that is the most confused group of Judeo-Christian, Kabbalistic, and Gnostic thought brought into like some hot mess. It's like a stew. It's like if you understand what Gnostic thought is, and there's a stew and there's certain potatoes in there, you might be able to pull the potatoes out. But if you don't know the real narrative, you won't know what the potatoes are. The Nag Hammadi codices, are brilliant in what they expose, and I think John Lamb Lash took them and then went into kind of a Gnostic shaman, understanding phylogenetic memory to put them together. And he did matter of fact, I think he did a brilliant job. Although my own shamanic practice has given me information that's a little different than his, in my opinion, if I wouldn't change a word. In other words, if he's like the canon of the modern Gnostic thought, I wouldn't change a word. Because even though my own Gnostic intel is different than his, the reason I was able to get my own Gnostic intel is because of the tools he provided. So my whole thing is, if this system actually provided like a little bit of a heretic of sorts, it's because it was really good. Because it got me into the matrix, which is healthy. What to me, what the movie is about is really about the Patrix, not the matrix. You want to be in the matrix because that's the mama, and mama loves us. Mama is wisdom. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, I don't want to gush too much, because until you experience her, it seems like silliness. It seems like, oh yeah. Once you experience our mother, our creator, you will be so blown away, and you will be rewarded greatly with wisdom and coherence. And you don't wait for the other shoe to drop. How much beauty can you take? Is her question to us. How much beauty can you take? Because I'm going to give you endless beauty, and the only thing that's going to interrupt it is you thinking you can't sustain it. Thinking like, how could beauty? I mean, how can life just be endlessly beautiful? Right? I mean, doesn't something nasty have to? Is somebody going to invade us? Some law is going to come. Yeah. Well, if you live in a fucked up world where there's like silly laws, yeah, maybe a law will come. Maybe. Because there's magic afoot. Choose wisely.
I always like it when I'm in a place where there's no choice.
Really?
Just, whenever I go into a Thai restaurant, I always have duck. I know I'm having duck before I go, or if we just going down the street and we see one and let's have tea there, it's like, I know I'm having duck. I'll walk in, I'll look at the whole menu, I wonder, but I'll have duck. I know I'm going to have duck. Now, once I didn't. I was overseas and I didn't have duck. And then I sat there for a couple of hours wishing I had duck. But I know I'm going to have duck. I know there's no choice. It's nice to have no choice because you're already in it. If you're in it and you're walking it and you're in the flow, there isn't any choice. And that's what I love. And that's something I suppose I'm moving out of the city to assist in that.
There's another saying in planetary tantra that I also live by and has completely changed my life. That is, your life is not your own. The noose that is given to us comes from Sophia, from wisdom. That's how we can operate as these semi-divine beings, because we have been given this noose, which is where we come to get to the noosphere. The noosphere is the collective noose. And once I realized my life was not my own, in other words, for me to kind of like realize that we are all organic repositories for the sensory input of our creator. In other words, we're sitting in creation. The creator made creation and set up nature. And now it's almost basically inserted itself through us into its own creation. How does a rose smell? I created a rose, but how does it smell? That's us. So, and then there were many fruits. Like apparently, once upon a time, an avocado was more seed than flesh. So we found a way naturally to blend things and make more flesh from an avocado. That's our purpose. We are the creators in creation to fine-tune creation.
I got a purpose at the moment. I have to put the young one to bed.
Okay.
We have to finish her up.
So we're done.
Loved it. It's so nice to have the audio sorted.
Not a word lost.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I could just keep talking and going subject to subject for a long time with you. Blessings, mate.
Okay, so that's Mystic Brew, Mystics Talk and Try to Be Interesting, Part 3.
My story.
See you next time.